Hello there. We're still talking about innovation in financial services, and next up is a very special guest. It is none other than Srinivasan, MD and CEO of the Federal Bank. Welcome, Mr. Srinivasan. Thank you for taking the time out to join us today. It's been a wonderful chat so far. I'll take 2 minutes to introduce you, though you do not need any introduction for people who are watching, but I will still do it. Mr. Srinivasan has spent over 3 decades leading multinational banks in India, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. He joined the Federal Bank as Managing Director and CEO in 2010 and has been instrumental in implementing various path-breaking initiatives, which include increasing the presence and visibility of the bank at a national level, creating an inherent capability within the bank to reinvent and re-implement processes, especially customer critical ones. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Srinivasan. We're talking about customers, and as we've been discussing with Mr. Rosha and Adhil, I'll take the first question to you on the emergence of this new customer, who wants digital, is mainly on the mobile banking and wants whatever he wants, an instant solution in a secure environment, and also understands their rights on data. How is the federal bank aligning business operations with this new customer expectation?
Thank you. And let me just try and give you a sense of how I see this or how we see this.
Sure.
See, firstly, we should not look at the customer in isolation, because the same customer that a bank is trying to onboard or engage with is also engaging with multiple other products, right? Be it Swiggy or Zomato or Uber or Amazon or whatever, right? So the client mental conditioning is that of ease, convenience, one or two clicks, and of course the overriding desire to keep his or her data safe, both financial and other. So I think in that we are operating in that environment. So banks cannot be very far away from ensuring we are fulfilling that expectation of a client, right?
Mhm.
So in that backdrop, everything we traditionally were doing in a more paper-based manual environment is getting uh, digitized, so to say. And our experience cannot be any less than the client's experience with any other product category. So I think banks have made great strides, and I believe that progress has been accelerated or catalyzed by the more recent pandemic-related challenges that everybody has faced. So I think first and foremost, client expectations have been set differently, conditioned by all that is happening to him or her from anywhere across the world. Now, specific to your experience question on banks, and in our bank, we've spent the greater part of the last few years guided by one mantra: digital at the fore, human at the core. So we do want to make sure that we are constantly giving client a superior digital experience, but not forgetting the human and softer side of clients' expectations and experiences. In that context, be it a personal loan, which I think for the last 2, 3 years we've onboarded entirely digitally. There's no hand touch; it's 2 clicks. Your your data has helped us decide whether you can be given a pre-approved line of credits. All you do is click and take the money, right?
Yeah.
That's more a retail. But even if you take for a small company or a corporate, the entire commercial paper issuance, we've digitized it. So there is no cumbersome process. All the stakeholders in the commercial paper issuance process, whether it's the RPA, RT, or the bank, all, and of course the customer, are in the digital process. So we've most recently done a CP issuance completely no hand touch, no paper. So be it retail, be it corporate,
Mhm.
or the more popular part for us is the remittance business,
Yes.
overseas customers,
Mhm.
is we've done a blockchain based solution where entirely everything is done digitally, and of course using blockchain as a technology. So I think in short, client experiences have been reset. Bank has to fulfill that expectations or surpass that, and we've identified opportunities for every segment.
Mhm.
And the availability of so much data
Yeah.
both is helping us give solutions on the go.
Right. The underlining principle here is that you have to simplify processes for the customer. And on that front, we were speaking to Adil, and we see a lot of innovations in among fintech companies. So when do you think can legacy banks like you innovate like fintech companies, or you think you're already there?
No, I think there are two parts to it. First is we shouldn't see them as distinctly different. I think it's a continuum where one
Yes.
ends, the other picks up. Second, We somehow believe fintech is away from a bank or bank is away from a fintech. Neither is true to my mind. They can't survive without a bank. The bank needs their partnerships. I think in large part it's collaborative. In
Yeah.
large part it is one helping reinforcing the other. I don't think it's independent of the other. I mean, there's a rare occasion then that the fintech will walk away with business. I can't believe any such instance so far, at least. So I think you have to see this as a context of a continuum. Second, if you take our bank, we have, I think, well over 100 relationship with fintechs in one form or the other,
Right.
right? They either are helping us improve our process, digitizing it, or they are onboarding, helping us bring a customer, or with an existing customer, deepen that relationship. I think, therefore, this is no longer, at least I don't see this as any kind of conflict. I just see this as
Absolutely.
a large collaborative exercise, and it's visibly so. And we've got numerous examples of working with them very successfully. Yeah, they end up being much more nimble,
Yes.
and therefore they are able to come to things much faster. But
Mm-hmm.
you must remember they need a platform, and bank is the platform. We are unarguably, if you have a crore customers,
Yes.
that's what they want to try and give a better experience or monetize better.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't see this as a challenge at
Yeah,
all.
of course. You bring in decades of experience, years of experience in risk management, and they bring in the innovation. So, this is the collaboration that you're talking about. Do you think that this will be the defining feature as we go ahead in a post pandemic world for the financial services sector? This collaboration?
Yeah, I think it will. See, remember the bank, we end up seeing it as a physical brick and mortar structure. I think that's just one version of what you see as a bank. The more important part is bank has the license to clear and we are the platform for transactions to be cleared, and clearing has to happen through a bank. So uh, it's not either or. It is certainly they need us, we need them kind of thing. So I think post pandemic this will only get accelerated, heightened, because client expectations have been reset. People wanted, even before they wanted, even before they, so it's in that scenario that we are trying to accomplish both safety, convenience, speed, and most importantly, I won't say friction free, less friction.
Let's, yeah.
So
We
that's
come to
what.
the security part a little later. I have another question for you. That is, when you talk about banking in India, the challenge really is to simplify the process in a way that you bring in millions into the banking fold and bring them into formal banking channels. So, what are the areas that require innovation when you have to reach out to the millions?
See, I think in any of these things, the entire value chain or the full client experience chain has to be evaluated and looked at opportunities for making it sort of easy.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, the biggest challenge has been onboarding a client, because that experience is sometimes quite irritating. You fill numerous forms, you have to go through really hoops to get to becoming a client of an institution. There's so many developments that have happened over the last years. First, the simple fact that Aadhaar as an identification is a big plus. Then the fact that virtually everything is now on a device and the device is in your hand has made it terribly more convenient.
Yeah.
Then the whole factor of video KYC being now formally accepted makes literally sitting here across the table, I'm able to onboard a client. He or she has to go very little pain and just a few clicks and they're onboarded. So I think the experience right from the time of onboarding through until, as they say, cradle to grave, you are able to ensure that the experiences and digitization is possible. Often we look at only onboarding, but if you look at client portfolio management, as the client history becomes better, he's able to get cheaper or easier credit.
Mhm.
That's in terms of getting more experience, additional credit. Then comes the area for banks to manage clients in terms of interventions appropriately based on data to understand whether they're good for payment or not paying, and how are we going to use technology for ensuring that the credit standards don't sort of suffer. So I think the whole spectrum is being evaluated, and the whole spectrum is being disintermediated using technology, and all of them are helping both banks and clients to make it easy, convenient, to some extent, less expensive, and most importantly, efficient.
So efficiency and cost effectiveness, which are the technologies that you look for, which you think will define the banking sector in a post-pandemic world where, you have to perhaps reimagine your lending basket to a large extent. Maybe not for federal banks so much, because we know remittance is a large part of your business, but we know that corporate lending will take time to pick up. Retail is where the next focus is.
I think, see, the two parts. One is the technology that has a life of it. If you talk of blockchain, cloud, artificial intelligence, the whole gamut of it
Yeah.
is evolving. Its application is what I or the banks should be for that, right? The hardcore technology innovators are creating those platforms. How does one apply and make it simple for the bank to use and the customer to benefit is really what we should. And it's not just customer. I think we have to look at the entire stakeholders. I mean, how do I onboard a new employee? Entirely everything has become digital, right?
Mhm.
Not only onboarding an employee, the entire induction has become digital. The client
Right.
employee learning through the life cycle has become digital. So I think this whole influence of technology in every sphere is now visible and almost, I think, unalterable. That's a reality of life. So I would say, to specific to your question, which technologies, I don't want to get too fast because moving at such rapid pace. As I speak to you, maybe somebody is discovering something even better than a blockchain. I don't know. But that said, what is visible to all of us is the application that you can use blockchain. I would think even more native stuff is around account aggregation, right? That is becoming a material part. So cloud, account aggregation, quantum
Mhm.
computing. I mean, I don't want to drop jargon because I think there are more eminent and equipped people to talk about it. But I do think, yeah, we should be as bankers less fussed about the development of that platform.
Yes.
How do I apply it is more important,
Mhm.
right? Because so much mind and creative stuff is going around. Creating those capabilities, its application is what we should worry about and make it most convenient for customers.
My final question to you before I let you go, sir, on a busy Friday, is that core to all these innovations is cybersecurity, and we have data that India is one of the most hit, especially during the pandemic. So, what are the technologies that you think your bank or the banking sector should leverage to ensure that keeping in mind data privacy and confidentiality?
I think the people have done a PhD in this, so there's a lot of happening, and we have between our internal committees and board committees, we have so many times that we review security as a full theme, from very simple stuff. And let me just begin with simple stuff, right? I think first is to give the power to the customer to switch on, switch off, and ability to help them uh, help them choose what they want to share and what they don't want to share.
Mhm.
So that is a very native but simple stuff. So if a customer has a debit card in his hand, he can, using his mobile app, switch off withdrawal capability and switch on only when he wants to do. So when the card is in his wallet, the likelihood of somebody interfering and taking money out of the ATM or out of his account is largely reduced.
Yeah.
Then the stuff around two-factor authentication, right? So, and this two-factor authentication is getting many versions of it. Earlier, it used to be SMS led. There are a bunch of stuff that is happening around it. We have a lot of customers who are overseas who don't get SMSs on time. So we created the equivalent of a mobile app. So the customer downloads Fed Alert in his mobile, and it's like your SMS, WhatsApp.
Yeah.
It's data. So every time we want to communicate with the customer, we don't wait for an SMS to reach the customer. He gets an alert on his mobile. So the ability for a customer to stay online informed about developments in his account or security is a high priority, and that's being addressed. So I think the security aspect is being, as much as development is happening on clients and services and products, so much is happening to defend and protect customers. But ultimately, certain degree of responsibility lies with the customer too,
Absolutely. I was
make
just coming to
sure
that. Yes.
to
Yeah.
make sure that they are not being, I would say, reckless about sharing their
Yeah.
private information, allowing others to use. That's where it all starts.
Absolutely.
As a banker, as a lender, as a institution, our responsibility to make sure we continuously communicate, advise, we make it, largely sort of cyber cyber safe, so to say, and most importantly, ensure that it is literally not you don't need to be a PhD to understand it. It has to be intuitive, right? It has to be very simple and something that a customer can naturally do.
Thank you so much, sir, for all those insights. And thank you for keeping it simple, keeping in mind the over 3,000 people who are watching us now. Mr. Srinivasan, thank you for your time again. Hope that you keep watching this summit. Many more exciting sessions coming up right after this. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.